Greetings to all collectors, I am Crash the Customizer. Welcome to another custom Transformer showcase. This is my custom pre-Beast Wars Rhinox. Now this figure is made for the base from a Studio Series 86 Ratchet / Ironhide mold. But I also added a few parts from other figures to actually make this what it is. So this piece here came from a Legacy Strongarm figure. And then these wheels right here are from a Gamer Edition Optimus Prime. And then I, of course, added a few Lego parts, like this little Lego front loader piece. I had this little Lego piece right here, and of course the posable hands, which is just the typical posable hands I make for all of my figures. Do all the things with it, and of course you can see it just pops on and off because it has to transformation. This is honestly one I was not able to make it transform with the hands, but... So as for the head here, I did actually mold a little bit on here. I'm going to get a good close-up here, so give me 1 second. So as you can see, I basically took the original head and just kind of molded on a little bit of Play-Doh here to kind of give him that little chin he has. And then, of course, paint it green, paint orange into the eyes, and then mold this little section here. And then, of course, I cut out the section that went in here so that the head will go in here, but there's nothing else that'll actually get in the way. And so the hands are all removable, and it's just basically, they go on this little thing here, and then there's a little stud right in there. Just basically will pop right in, and so as you can see, easily pop out. Just gotta get the hole lined up. And of course you can, because of this, you could actually rotate it, so if you need to have it a different direction, you can actually do that. And honestly, this one actually turned out pretty cool, because like I said, a lot of it is pretty much just kind of Frankensteining figures together, and the end result actually looks pretty awesome, I feel like. I mean, this is honestly what I could kind of see Rhinox being, so just kind of this, basically the vehicle is kind of like a front loader like thing, kind of. We'll get to that in a second here, but first we'll go ahead and bring up some comparisons here. First up here is the two characters that he is, Ratchet and Ironhide. And we'll go ahead and take Ratchet out here for a second. You can kind of see, because this is a Studio Series 86 Ironhide, so you can kind of see basically what I did with it, and a lot of it is still the same. As you can tell, the arms are still pretty much the same, and I, of course, give the same postable hands on this figure. But pretty much what you can tell is different is, of course, there's this whole back section here, and then I did also add these here, which are cut out sections of Lego wheel wells to kind of give the neck guards, I guess you'd call it. I'm not really sure. But, of course, you can see on the back here, there's quite a bit going on here. Of course, you got this little thing coming up here, while this just has your standard wheel. And then, of course, these wheels here, they were put on this section. And this is honestly one of those examples of something that Hasbro can do sometimes, is actually do a retool right, where it's not a complete copy of the same figure, and you can look at it and be like, wait a minute, this is the same figure? And I'm honestly pretty proud of actually how I was able to actually take this and make this. I mean, it's pretty incredible how this actually ended up turning out, and actually pretty happy with it. So now I'll go ahead and bring some more comparisons here real quick. So here he is with pre-Beast Wars Cheetor, aka Fast Track, pre-Beast Wars Optimus Primal, aka Optimal Optimus, and then for Rhinox's pre-Beast Wars name, I was thinking something like Heavy Load. That'll make a little more sense when we get into the vehicle mode here. So, last comparison, here he is with his future self. So before we get into transformation, he does have some weapons here. So these are the Gatling guns that came with the other Rhinox figure. Of course, they can still spin. You can get him holding these, just kind of gotta get things in place here. Just kind of sticking this into here. And he also has this little hammer piece that came from the Rise of the Beast Studio Series Rhinox. And this can also, of course, go into his hand. And now he looks like he's ready for battle. So now I'll go ahead and get into the transformation. So first we need to do is remove his hands, because they cannot transform with the figure. The next thing we're going to do, open up his chest here and just kind of fold in his head. And you'll notice a lot of this is pretty much the same as the original figure, but then I just, of course, added a few things, makes it just a tad different. Go ahead and bring this section back up. Just kind of bring up the arms here, kind of get them out of the way. We need to untab this section here, and then bring down this section. So it kind of folds back just like this, which will allow clearance for this whole section here to rotate around, just like this. Then we'll bring this back up. It doesn't really tab in anymore, it just kind of more or less just sits there. So next thing we're going to do is go ahead and tab this section back in. Then we're going to work on his legs. It'll, of course, become back of the vehicle here. So first thing to do is bring these up. Flip out these little windows here. Bring this section up. And then, of course, in turn, it'll bring up this section here. Just like this. Same on this side. Just bring this up. Bring up this section here. And let's go ahead and tab the entire section here together. So then what we're going to do is take his arms, bring them down, bring them around, flip this section here down a bit so that the section can tab into here. So just fold the arm in. The arms do tab together, but they don't really stay together well enough, but they will not really go anywhere, so basically just do that. Kind of give everything flat. And there we have Rhinox in his vehicle mode. But there's one finishing touch, and that's adding the weapons. So if you've seen the other Rhinox video, you probably know that storing these weapons was a pain in the butt, but I made a much easier way for this figure. So you just fold this section here in, and then basically I added these little Lego pieces here, these little Lego cone pieces, that basically allow this to peg in right here, and go in underneath this section. Just kind of get it right there, and then this basically just goes right in to here. Great, make sure everything's pegged in. There we go. Same on this side. Just flip this section down. Just kind of get this in underneath here. Get this peg lined up. Bring this section in. Just kind of goes right into there. And then this is honestly pretty cool. So we'll take this hammer here, kind of fold it in on itself. Now it has this little peg that goes into here, but we're not going to use that. So basically just fold it in, and then bring in this section and just kind of feeding it through the arms here, just like this. And then this section just kind of sits there like that. That honestly looks pretty awesome looking. It almost looks more like now like a missile rack or something, just to kind of fire out some missiles, which is pretty cool. And there we have Rhinox's vehicle mode complete. And this is honestly a pretty cool vehicle mode. I mean, it obviously doesn't look like anything from Earth, which of course pulls off the whole Cybertronian vehicle. And kind of almost looks like some sort of construction-like vehicle, which kind of makes sense for Rhinox, given that he was kind of a character that did a lot of the building and kind of the kind of techie part. Just kind of fits his character. And so the name Heavy Load to come up with was, I was just trying to think of a vehicle that kind of made sense for Rhinox's kind of bulkiness. And then when I was watching, I think it was Transformers Cybertron, there was a character named Heavy Load that actually kind of ended up looking like this. I'm like, okay, then this name's perfect. So as you can of course tell, of course, it has this little front loader section here, so you can scoop up things here. Of course, you can put his hands there if you wanted to. Do that. And then the wheels actually roll pretty decently if you get things where they're lined upright. And it's actually a pretty cool looking vehicle. Very different. Of course, these kind of almost look like smokestacks, what it's kind of like. And then, like I said, it has this little section up here. Looks like so you can fire out some missiles. And, I mean, it's just said very, very Cybertronian-like. So now I'll go ahead and bring in some comparisons in this vehicle mode. First up, here is of Ironhide. You can kind of see what I changed here. Next up, here is of Ratchet. Here he is, a fast track and optimal Optimus. And here he is with his future self. Now to get heavy load back into his robot mode, first thing we need to do is remove the weapons. Just unpeg these from here. Just kind of set them off to the side. Lift this section up, bring out his arms here. Go ahead and untab this section here. Flip this in, flip this down, untab the legs, fold down the foot, flip this panel back down, same on this side, bring down the foot, flip down that panel, stand in here, get it lined up like that. We'll go ahead and just kind of bring this section here down, then rotate this section around, tab that into there, bring this section back up and just kind of fold it behind his back here, just like this. And bring down his arms here just like that. Open up this section here, pull out his head, flip this section back up. And of course, now to complete the look, we'll bring in the hands. Just kind of peg them up into here. And there we have Heavy Load, aka Rhinox, and back into his robot mode. Honestly, this is actually a pretty cool figure. I'm actually really happy with how this one actually ended up turning out looking. Because I wasn't really sure how I was going to do this, and just kind of one of those cases where I just kind of just play with it and try to figure out, okay, like, what do I want to basically do, and what kind of vehicle mode fits, and it's just kind of just a matter of just Frankensteining some figures together, and adding some Lego pieces, and then making this. And this is probably one of the most elaborate figures, especially in the Beast Wars figures I've done. Just all the things that I did to actually make this what it is. And actually, the end result is pretty awesome looking. So if you like this video, be sure to check out the description where you'll find a link to all of the other pre-Beast Wars customs, along with a link that'll take you to a playlist of all of my standard Beast Wars customs. There will also be a link that will take you to my stop motion channel, which is currently just a random stop motions, but I'm hoping to at some point make a stop motion series about these guys. Be sure to check that out. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any future customs. Until next time, this is Crash the Customizer out.
Hi, I'm Optimal Optimus, Guardian of the Golden Disc. I am Rhinox, Captain of the ship. Did you build this ship yourself? I sure did. It's an exploration ship. I seek to travel the universe and see what else might be out there. Sounds fun. Maybe I can join you sometime.